I'm going to talk about repeated reading. It's a technique used for early readers in which they are required to reread a reading book more than once. Now, why are we looking at this topic? To give parents and educators an understanding of the early reading process, to make it as enjoyable as possible, because early reading is difficult for a lot of students. Now, let's first of all start with what actually happens with early readers. Typically, they enter a sounding out phase when presented with good quality reading books, in which every word is typically decoded. Ted, gets, ten, red, pens. In this phase, typically students fatigue really easily because that decoding is quite laborious. Now, over time, the texts get longer. And children should be hitting less fatigue, but also that decoding may still be happening on quite frequently. He, her, it, hit, the moon, rock. And I think you're starting to get a sense of where I'm going to lead with this, of what the repeated reading technique provides. A little earlier on, however, as students leave that decoding phase, they hit a phase in reading, typically, in which students are reading whole words, but their reading is not fluent. And I'm exaggerating this, but students can read in this way: Tom got hot on top of the pot. Whole word disfluent reading. The text can be longer, and students may be doing a combination of the decoding as well as that lots of whole word reading without that nice flow. So why the technique of repeated reading? There have been many national literacy inquiries in which thousands and thousands of pieces of research on an international level have been investigated. All of those national literacy inquiries support the technique of repeated reading for our early literacy phase. Now, in repeated reading, typically what we're looking for is short text, 100 to 200 words, where students have an accuracy of around 95%. So first of all, what students need to learn is how to decode words, how to verbalize that text. And then now here comes the repeated reading phase and that repeated reading technique, and why it's so useful, because what we're going to get out of that repeated reading is reduced decoding. The more times I keep reading and rereading and rereading that text, each time you'll find when students are sounding out words less, they're recognizing more words. But the other byproduct of repeated reading is the flow, the automaticity, the fluency starts to emerge. And ultimately, what happens when fluency emerges and there's less decoding? Comprehension is maximized. But in saying that, one of the best things that schools can invest in is having parents read picture books to their children. And I know in today's technological society, some of us are not doing that as frequently as what we should be, but also asking students questions. Now, this technique is made really easy for parents, where in a range of schools where they're provided with a picture book and a set of questions, so that every night parents read that picture book and there are 3 specifically scripted questions that increasing complexity and with the ultimate aim of increasing reading comprehension over time. So what I've hoped to provide in this very short clip is information on how to maximize early reading, early home reading, early school reading, and how to embed that technique of repeated reading of text. If you require more information, please contact PLD through our website.